You know how you can talk about the same thing with your bestie a million times and still find new things to say?
Or how sometimes all you need is a voice note from your bestie?
Welcome to the Normal Mini Mess,
where we deliver a little normal mess from a previous episode.
It's the Normal Mini Mess.
Nailed it.
Topic today is bring mostly the whole of who you are to work. Controversial topic. Controversial.
Yeah, as we've learned over the past several years.
Yes.
Controversial topic. So let's set it up so that we explain what this is and kind of what we're talking about here. So Casey and I have talked quite a bit about, I would say that we feel passionately about this. Both of us feel passionately about this.
Yes.
About, bringing the whole authentic, full version of who you are to work. And I think that we've talked about this in speeches that we've done together and events that we've hosted together about how important it is, I would argue, and I think we're going to get into this, particularly for women who occupy paid working roles, to be able to bring the whole of who you are to work. And I don't want to say we've gotten pushback, but we've gotten some mixed responses, mixed reviews.
Differing feedback,
differing perspectives on whether one can or even should bring the whole of who you are to work. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. What does that actually mean for you? When we say that we want to bring the whole of who we are to work, what does that actually mean?
It draws from authenticity for me. And I know I've talked on the podcast about how my two values are authenticity and faith. And for anyone who has not defined their two values, do the exercise in Brene Brown's book, Dare to Lead. Incredible exercise, and has been really helpful for me in all areas of my life, and especially work. So one is drawing from making decisions from my authentic place, my authentic self, that I'm not making a decision because I'm trying to make someone else happy, or because I think someone would be upset with me, or because something's the easy way out, or because something might be less controversial. Am I being true to myself as I make this decision and the reasons for it? I think we should bring the whole of our values and the whole of who we are into those meetings and into those decisions. At the same time, as a paid working mom, I also think it means don't shield parts of yourself or leave parts of yourself behind to fit into a perfect button-up suit in order to show up at work. And we talked about this with Dr. Emily Cross, that in today's society, yes, we have email on our phone, but we also, so many of us have the blessing of working from home or working hybrid schedules. And it's very hard to not let our professional life bleed into our personal life. Okay, well, why can't our personal life also bleed into our professional life then? And so that means acknowledging that I am a mom, that I'm a mom of two kids, that mothering is hard, that I'm a caregiver, that I'm a spouse, and the things that I enjoy and the aspects of my personality that make me me. Why can't I talk about those things and show those aspects of myself at work? And I'm at a place where that's encouraged and that's celebrated and that's wonderful. I've heard from women that they do not work at a place where that's tolerated or encouraged in any way, shape, or form. I've heard from women they don't have the privilege or luxury of doing that. And I also hear that we shouldn't, that actually it's probably inappropriate for us to do that because we need to be serious or we need to show up a certain way. I think when we say this, I mean, you and I are both outspoken on women's issues. I mean, hello, we have a podcast called The Normal Mess about working motherhood, but we also talk about it in our professional spheres at work. Yep. And we're not the only women who have said this, right?
Right.
But when people speak out on a topic on behalf of supporting women or advancing women, it's very easily a target, as where people kind of like take the concept and then start finding every single exception, or like trying to give every situation where something's wrong or it won't work out just for the sake of cutting the concept down instead of acknowledging valid points.
Right. And I also feel like there's also this, it's also for the sake of like having a hot take. You know, it's like not to always make it about Taylor Swift, but like every single hot take is cold as ice, where it's like, well, if you're going to, you know, you want to make a splash, like cut it down, say something controversial or find the, you know, where it's like also for that, where it's like, what, to what end? Why?
And so in major publications over the last 6, 9, 12 months, I've seen articles come out that's like why you shouldn't bring your full authentic self to work, or
written by other women.
Yes. So but I still feel strongly that we should, because representation matters for a lot of reasons. I know we're going to dive into a lot of this, but that is my rant on what I mean when I say bring the whole of who you are to your workplace. Mostly because there are lines. Like, I'm not saying like be inappropriate.
Don't show up naked.
That's fine.
We don't mean bring your naked self.
Your baby self. Don't bring your bare naked, the way you were born self to work. I get that.
That's right.
And we can talk about some of those boundaries and like where we might decide what's appropriate, not appropriate to bring, or things that we may intentionally not want to bring because that's sacred and we're saving that. Like, we can talk about those things. But well, what do you mean when you say bring the whole of who you are to work?
There's substantial overlap between your answer and mine, but I think so. I guess first I should back up and provide our messy besties who may not have known me or may not know me in real life, but who may not have known me like for a long time, some historical context. So throughout the course of my life, beginning pretty much as early as I can remember, I have been told that I am too blank. Insert word here. Too much. Too intense was one that I got quite a bit growing up, where looking back on that, I'm like, how can a little kid be intense? I think because I feel things deeply, and I am responsive to
full chalance, baby.
Full chalance.
And you have full chalance since you were a baby.
I came out into this world with my full chalance. You know, we talk about how we entered the world naked. I entered the world naked and full of full chalance. Yes. And so my whole life, I have been told that I'm too everything, too much, too pink, too, whatever, which is just ridiculous. Just especially the pink thing, as I sit here in my pink office with my pink door and my pink wallpaper and my pink chair, like, too much of everything. And so,
but no one would ever tell you that you're too funny, because you're the perfect amount of funny. There's no such thing as too funny. But that breaks my heart. That breaks my heart that you would grow up hearing that.
Yeah, I mean, and just and not from my parents, but just out
society.
in the world, society, where
we've talked about some of your teachers before. I'm sure you heard that at school.
Yeah, and and then when you're kind of experimenting with who you are, and I learned to shut down pieces of myself, or to be more cautious about who I showed what. Mm-hmm. And that was, I think, a self-preservation instinct, or, a response maybe, to some of this feedback that I got out in the world. We all get feedback as we move through the world. We all get feedback about who we are, how we're existing, how we're presenting, the impact that we all receive feedback. So this is not a unique to me experience, but a lot of the feedback that I received was that I was too much, too much of whatever, group of whatever description, just too much. Mm-hmm. And so, and then you go through college, and you go through formative relationships with people, and, and I, as we've talked about, like, did not always make great romantic choices. And so then that message was repeated, by people who, allegedly loved me. And that becomes part of your self-identity with how you navigate your inner world compared to the outer world, and how much of my inner world I allowed to be visible by the outer world. And I, in coming through those experiences, I have learned, and I have seen time and time and time again, that where I am a muted version of myself, I am an unhappier version of myself as well. And so I have a little bit of a rebellious streak, as you may have gathered from my secret tattoos and all of the things, secret, not so secret tattoos. I think that what has happened was I kind of went through this journey of shutting down who I am and then seeing that that's actually that's not a road to happiness for me. And rather than just as we've talked about, I'm 0 or I'm 100. Usually I'm 100. And so rather than just okay, well, I am gonna show up in this way, I kind of put it on blast where it's F you, I'm going to show up this way. I'm going to show up that way. Not only am I going to tell you that I love pink, my whole freaking office is going to be pink. I'm going to, I'm going to lean in so fully to this, partially as a middle finger to anyone who has telegraphed to me explicitly or not that I'm too much of anything. I'm exactly the muchness of who I should be. And here it is. You are welcome. And
Can
so
that
I
be
think
the call out quote for us? I am exactly the muchness of who I should be. Bam!
bam.
I love it.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was
No,
chills with that.
Thank
I love
you.
it.
Thank you. And I don't know that that's always been necessarily a healthy response, because I've gone so far the other way. That I've just like I said, I am loudly exactly who I am. And there's sometimes good that comes from that. The other thing that I want to say is, when you were talking about how it shows up for you or what it means for you, to bring us back to the initial question, part of what I'm talking about when I'm saying this is also visibility. Visibility is really important to me, not only for my own well-being, to know that I am visible. I want to occupy the space that I occupy and have it be visible that I'm in that space. Mm-hmm. But also I want to be visible for other people. So sometimes, especially, as you occupy a leadership role, I have made the decision to be vocally, visibly, transparently, authentically myself, loudly myself, so that other people see that and feel that they have a license or a permission slip to be radically, transparently, loudly themselves too. Thanks for joining us for the Normal Mini Mess. If this conversation resonated with you and your mess, tell a friend, or, 500.
If you'd like the full conversation, you can find the complete episode wherever you listen to podcasts. Find us on Instagram and TikTok at The Normal Mess, or email us at thenormalmess@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.